welcome to this session. This is really for you, the director, someone who's right there in the thick of it, navigating the incredibly nuanced art of guiding performance. Today, we're going to confront something powerful. It's often subconscious, this impulse that can maybe inadvertently stifle the very creativity you're trying so hard to unleash.
That urge to over-explain.
Exactly, the urge to over-explain. We're going to explore how you can recognize when your notes are actually becoming noise and, crucially, learn how to communicate with absolute precision.
And it has to be built on trust. Trust in the actor's own process.
Right, because this session, it isn't about just giving instructions, telling people what to do. It's really about empowering your actors to discover truth for themselves, to own it and embody it in a way that goes way beyond just obedience.
Indeed. And look, it's a scenario every single director knows intimately. You're in rehearsal and a scene just isn't quite landing. It feels off.
Yeah, maybe the energy's flat or the timing feels wrong.
Or the emotional stakes, they're just sort of skimming the surface. They're not cutting deep, not really hitting you where it matters.
That moment. I know that moment.
It's not just a common moment. It's actually a critical inflection point for every director. It's a moment where you make a profound choice, whether you realize it or not.
Absolutely. That scene isn't quite clicking, and your first instinct, it's often a really noble one, right? You want to help. You want to fix it, illuminate the truth you see in the text.
You want to make it better, clearer.
That desire to serve the material, serve the actor, it's commendable. It comes from a good place.
It does, but it's precisely in that noble urge that this subtle yet really quite profound trap often begins to set itself.
Ah, okay. So the intention is good, but the execution.
That's it. That noble instinct to help, fix, illuminate, that's the exact moment the critical trap often springs. Because instead of providing a playable, actionable note,
something they can actually do.
Yes. A single, clear piece of direction the actor can immediately use, something they can physically or psychologically do, the director starts to talk.
Hey, boy.
And talk some more. This isn't direction anymore. It's a descent into what we have to call over-explanation.
Right.
It's common, almost an automatic reflex sometimes, born from wanting to help, but it can have truly devastating consequences for the entire artistic process. The intention might be pure, but the execution, it can inadvertently suffocate the very spark you're trying to ignite.
Okay, so what does that talking actually sound like? Boots on the ground in the rehearsal room. What are directors maybe doing completely inadvertently that stifles the work instead of sparking it?
Well, it takes many forms, and honestly, they're all pretty detrimental to the actor's process, to the scene's lifeblood. It might involve, say, unraveling this deep psychological breakdown of the character's childhood trauma.
The backstory dump.
Exactly. Explaining every past wound, every formative experience, as if the actor needs, a complete Freudian analysis just to figure out how to walk across the room with intention.
Right.
Or it could be layering on paragraphs of dense thematic analysis, discussing the scene's deeper meaning like it's a PhD dissertation defense, not a living, breathing moment that needs to be explored right now.
Less analysis, more action.
Precisely. And sometimes it's even offering these thinly veiled line reading, masked as mere suggestions.
Oh, yeah. Maybe try it more like,
could you try that line, but with a little more resignation? Like you've just realized your entire life has been meaningless. It subtly dictates tone, inflection, instead of letting the actor find the behavior that leads to that feeling.
It tells them the destination without letting them find the path.
Perfectly put. Often it's this flurry of external references, mentioning 3 different films, 2 literary characters, maybe even the character's hypothetical college major.
Think Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon meets Kermit the Frog.
Exactly. Anything that intellectualizes rather than activates the actor's core instincts. It feels like the director needs to show off their own deep understanding, or they're trying to create some kind of intellectual shorthand that, frankly, only exists in their own head.
That sounds less like a rehearsal room and more like, a lecture hall.
That's precisely the danger. The rehearsal space, which should be this dynamic, active arena for experiment, for failure, for discovery, it transforms. It becomes passive.
So the actor's just sitting there absorbing information.
Yes. And what's the direct consequence of this intellectual deluge on the actor and on the scene itself.
Yeah, what happens to the work?
The consequence is profound and it's immediate. The actor who maybe just moments ago was right there on the edge of a breakthrough, on the precipice of some authentic discovery, they now just drown in that noise. Imagine handing someone GPS coordinates for every single second of a journey. Okay, turn left here. Now step on that specific crack in the pavement. Look at that bird. Breathe now. Okay, turn your head exactly 15 degrees to the left.
You'd feel like a robot. There'd be no joy in the journey.
Exactly. And then you expect them to discover something new, to feel the adventure of the road. You've completely replaced adventure with a step-by-step tutorial. You've killed the necessity for instinct, for surprise, for that vital, internal, emotional GPS that actors must use to navigate the truth of any given moment.
So there's no mystery left for them, no risk.
No organic impulse left to trust. The actor isn't exploring anymore. They're just trying to decrypt your complex instructions.
And the scene just goes dead. It's not because the actor lacks talent, is it?
Not at all. It goes dead because you've essentially robbed them of the space and, frankly, the necessity to fight, to fail, to feel their way through the inherent chaos of a moment.
What should have been alive becomes
clinical, almost sterile. It suffocates under the weight of too many words, too much thought, too much control from the outside. You've handed them a perfect blueprint, maybe, but not a battlefield.
And acting needs a battlefield.
Great acting doesn't thrive in some sterile, predetermined lab. It thrives in danger, in chaos, in need, in the raw, messy pursuit of an urgent objective. You've offered them a finished painting, all neatly rendered, instead of a blank canvas, and the profound permission to just bleed onto it, to make mistakes, to make it uniquely theirs.
That permission to bleed, that's where the truth lives, isn't it? In the struggle, the unexpected strokes.
In the actor's courageous willingness to explore the unknown, absolutely.
That leads us perfectly into what you call the lecture trap. We've touched on some of the content like the backstory dumps and film references, but let's maybe go a bit deeper. What exactly fills this excessive talk, and how does it fundamentally change the dynamic for the actor? What's that subtle shift that happens?
Right, the lecture trap. The problematic content is, as we've hinted, this intellectual flood. It's the elaborate explanations of childhood trauma or, detailed character backstory that might be incredibly useful for an actor in their private homework.
But not in the active rehearsal room.
Utterly counterproductive in the active rehearsal room. It pulls them out of the moment. Same with the dense thematic analyses, brilliant for a critical essay maybe, but not for a collaborative space where discovery needs to happen organically, moment to moment.
And the masked line readings?
Still part of the lecture. Attempting to dictate a specific inflection, or worse, an emotional outcome, instead of trusting the actor to discover the behavior, the action, that authentically leads to that feeling. And crucially, it's those external references we talked about. They seem helpful, but they often aren't. I've genuinely heard directors say things like, okay, I want you to play this scene like a combination of a really tortured poet from some obscure Russian novel and, let's say, a slick-talking lawyer from a 90s legal thriller.
Wow. How does an actor even process that?
And, they might add, think of that specific scene in Blade Runner where Roy Batty is dying, tears and rain, but maybe with the cynical wit of, Chandler from Friends.
That's a lie.
The intention maybe is to inspire or create a shared vision. But what it actually does is it forces the actor to intellectualize the character. It completely bypasses their immediate, guttural, physical response.
They're not thinking about what the character needs to do anymore.
No. Have I even seen Blade Runner recently? Who the heck is Chandler? How on earth do I combine these totally disparate ideas into one single, cohesive, honest performance right now? It becomes a mental puzzle.
A thinking exercise, not an acting one.
Precisely. It sends the actor straight up into their head, completely away from their gut, their body, their instincts, where the real acting lives.
So the rehearsal space, instead of being this collaborative, active arena, it becomes that passive lecture hall we mentioned. And the actor, who you said should be like a warrior right on the edge of discovery, they transform. What is that detrimental shift? How do they change?
They do. They absolutely do. They cease to be that warrior, that explorer, that seeker of truth. They become Well, they become a puppet of your ideas.
Just trying to please the director.
Exactly. Their inherent fight, their urgent need to win something in the scene, their raw impulses, all of that gets replaced by this desperate desire to simply execute your intellectual concepts correctly, to please you by mimicking what they think you want them to do or feel.
And that bypasses their core engine, as you called it.
Completely. This intellectual noise bypasses the actor's core engine because real acting, doesn't live solely up here in the head. It's not just analysis or intellectual understanding. It lives in the gut. It lives in the tactic, in the risk, in the urgent, active pursuit of something that matters to the character personally.
It lives in the body, the behavior.
Yes, in the behavior. And when you speak only to the intellect, you bypass this entire engine. You effectively steal the actor's need to fight, their permission to fail, their process of feeling their way through the chaos. You leave them stranded in this brightly lit room with absolutely nowhere to hide, no shadow to explore, no mystery left to solve for themselves.
The magic's gone.
The magic of the unknown, yeah. That essential ingredient for any authentic, surprising performance, it's just gone. They become a receiver of complex instructions, not a co-creator of truth.
It really sounds like there's a deeper root to all this over-explaining then. It's maybe beyond just that initial desire to help. It feels like it might come from a place of control, a need to dictate the outcome.
It absolutely does. You've hit the nail on the head. Over-explaining is fundamentally a control mechanism. It really is.
An attempt to wrestle the scene into submission.
Through analysis, through logic, sometimes through just a sheer volume of words. It operates under this illusion, this mistaken belief, that if you can just articulate the perfect combination of words, if you explain it thoroughly enough, dissect it enough, then the performance will magically align with your vision. Poof.
But that's not how great acting happens.
It's a profound misunderstanding of how great acting, how genuine human truth is actually born. Great acting emerges from freedom within clear boundaries, not from following rigid intellectual blueprints.
So what's underneath that need for control?
At its deepest level, this tendency, this urge to over-explain, is really just fear masquerading as clarity.
Fear. Fear of what?
It often stems from a need to protect your vision, your interpretation, your sense of control over the final outcome. It's about protecting yourself rather than truly empowering the actor's organic fight in their own discovery process.
It's a fear that if you don't micromanage every little detail,
the scene might go wrong, or it might not live up to what you envisioned in your head, or maybe it won't be good enough. It's fundamentally about wanting guarantees in a process that thrives on uncertainty.
So if the director's job isn't actually to protect their vision by dictating every single move, what is it then? What is the true role in that moment?
Your job is not to protect your vision obsessively or offer every single answer up front. Your job is actually to provoke.
Provoke? How so?
To ask the one question, maybe. Or give the one sharp note that lights a fire within the actor, something that ignites their core, their inherent need to fight for something in that scene.
Because great acting thrives in chaos.
It thrives in chaos, yes. In the unpredictable messiness of real human behavior, not in rigid, sterile control. Your primary job as a director is to create the conditions where something dangerous, something unexpected, something real can actually happen.
Setting the stage, not choreographing the dance.
Beautifully put. You set the stakes. You define the objective, what the character desperately, urgently wants. And then, crucially, you must learn to shut up long enough to let the actor fight for it.
That shut up part sounds key.
It's vital. You are not there to script every single beat, every glance, every tiny breath. You are there to build a battlefield, define the opposing forces, and then trust the soldier you've cast to go to war. Trust them to fight with their own unique tactics, to discover their own way to victory or glorious defeat.
And when you bypass that, when you speak only to the intellect.
When you bypass the actor's active core, and speak only to their intellect, turning them into that puppet of your ideas that is micromanagement. It is not direction. It strips them of their agency, diminishes their contribution, and ultimately leads to less interesting work.
That's such a crucial distinction, micromanagement versus true direction. Okay, so we're not supposed to be speaking primarily to the intellect. If we're avoiding over-explaining, what kind of language do we use? How do we actually activate an actor? How do we provoke that immediate visceral gut response you mentioned?
You must speak in verbs and images, not adjectives, not abstract theories.
Why not adjectives?
Yes.
Seems simple enough.
Because actors cannot play adjectives. They simply can't. They also cannot play abstract theory. Vague commands like be more emotional are useless.
Play the stakes harder?
Exactly, or feel the deep sadness of your past trauma now. It offers nothing actionable. It just invites the actor to go up into their head trying to manufacture a feeling rather than discovering it through action.
So effective direction needs to hit somewhere else.
It must activate the actor's animal brain, as it were, not just their intellect. Actors are physical, sensory beings. They respond to stimuli. They need direction that sparks instinct, urgency, and actionable steps. They need something tangible they can do now.
Okay, so instead of these theoretical explanations, we give them something concrete to pursue, a direction that immediately translates into an action they can take.
Precisely. You need to learn to speak in verbs and images. Actors can play strategy. They can play need. They can play urgency. They can play action. They can pursue something tangible with blood in their teeth and real desperation in their bones. They cannot respond effectively to vague poeticism or psychological essays delivered mid-scene.
Right. So give me an example. Let's say a scene is about abandonment. The character feels abandoned because her father left. The intellectual note is, this is about abandonment.
Yeah.
What's the actionable alternative?
Okay. Instead of that intellectual abstract note, this scene is really about abandonment because her father left her years ago and she's dealing with the lingering trauma of that, which is analytical. You give them a war to fight right now. You might tell her, win him back before he leaves you too. Or maybe make him understand the pain he caused before he walks out that door.
Okay, that's immediate. It's active.
It's a verb, win, make him understand. It's personal. It creates an immediate, urgent need. And it serves as fuel for their action right now in this moment against a tangible obstacle to the other person, the situation. It compels them to do something, not just understand something.
That immediately shifts the actor's focus, doesn't it? From trying to grasp a concept to actively pursuing a goal, fighting for something tangible in the here and now. Could you give us a few more examples, these powerful, actionable, maybe image-driven notes? Because I think this is where a lot of directors, even experienced ones, can get stuck.
Certainly. It's about finding that active core. So instead of just saying, be more angry, which is an adjective, a state, you might give them the action, rip the truth out of him.
Ooh, that's vivid, violent, urgent.
It implies a specific kind of intense physical or psychological action. Or instead of try to hide your feelings, which is again focused on the feeling itself, you could direct them to bury your guilt under charm.
Okay, that gives them a tactic, a behavior.
Exactly. It gives them a clear tactic, a specific behavior they can play, the active process of hiding something, guilt, by actively doing something else using charm. Much more playable.
What about desperation? Instead of show more desperation.
Well, show is always a red flag. Instead of that, which is merely descriptive, tell them, drag him back from the edge with everything you've got.
That paints a picture.
It's an image, yeah. A visceral action of pulling someone back from a literal or metaphorical cliff. It conveys immense urgency and high stakes. Or instead of the classic play the stakes, which is vague, you could say fight like your life depends on it. Because in this moment, for this character, it absolutely does.
Tying it directly to their survival, their core need.
You're tying the action directly to their psychological stakes, to what truly deeply matters to them, what they stand to lose if they fail.
Those are incredibly potent examples. They immediately conjure a scenario in action. They seem to cut right through all that intellectual noise, get straight to the heart of what the character needs to do.
That is precisely the power of it.
Right.
These image-driven verbs, these active commands, they plant a vivid reality directly into the actor's imagination. They give the actor a tangible landscape to move through, a clear objective to pursue, a clear obstacle to overcome, and often a clear tactic to employ immediately.
The work becomes personal, primal even.
And urgent. You are giving them something to do, not something to feel. Because remember, feeling without action is just indulgence, it's navel-gazing. But action driven by genuine feeling, now that's power.
Action driven by feeling is power. I like that.
This kind of precise communication can transform a moment from being, merely pedestrian or competent to being truly unforgettable. It bypasses the analytical mind and goes straight to the core of what drives all human behavior, the pursuit of an objective against obstacles. It's about giving them a specific, active chase, not a general emotional state to somehow embody.
Which leads us perfectly into the next crucial principle, doesn't it? One that's really foundational to the Chubbuck technique and many effective acting approaches. Letting behavior lead the discovery. How does the technique approach this? What does it demand from the director in practice?
Yes, this is absolutely central. The Chubbuck technique fundamentally demands behavior. It's not about emotional indulgence or just feeling things intensely on stage or screen. Behavior is seen as the true engine of human truth. It's the visible evidence of an invisible need, an invisible objective.
So it's less about how the character feels inside.
And much more about what the character does, the active choices they make, conscious choices, unconscious choices. What do they do to survive, to be seen, to win, to achieve their specific objective in that scene, in that moment?
And the emotions, where do they fit in?
Emotions are critical, but they are merely the fuel. They are the power source that drives the journey, often the result of the fight, not the starting point for the actor's work in the moment. Strategy, that conscious and unconscious tactical choices made to achieve an objective, that's the vehicle.
Fuel and vehicle. Okay.
Without action, without behavior, emotions are hollow. They're just displayed. But when emotions fuel specific actions, specific behaviors aimed at winning an objective, then they become potent, truthful, and compelling. We don't play emotions, we play objectives. We don't play feelings, we play behavior driven by need.
So for the director, the focus should always remain firmly on what the character is actively pursuing, what they're doing right now, rather than getting bogged down in their internal emotional state or instructing them how to feel.
Absolutely. Always, always return to the fundamental questions. What does this character want right now, in this specific moment? That's their objective. And what or who stands in their way? That's their obstacle. This clarity alone, just defining those two things sharply, is often enough to unlock incredibly deep instincts in an actor.
But there's more to it, isn't there, once you provide that clarity?
Yes, and here's the crucial part. The step that often gets missed, especially by directors who feel that need to control. Once you have laid that vital foundation, once you have given them that clear, sharp objective and defined that formidable obstacle, you absolutely must step back.
Step back.
You have to. You must then let the actor wrestle with the moment themselves. Let them stumble, let them dig, let them sweat. Allow the behavior, the tactics, the choices to emerge organically from their own personalized, urgent need to win that objective. You've given them the map, you've shown them the mountain peak, now you have to let them find their own path up, even if it's messy, especially if it's messy.
And that act of stepping back, that feels like where the real breakthroughs can happen.
Yeah.
It sounds almost counterintuitive for a director who might feel this constant pressure to be directing, to be fixing, to be shaping.
It is precisely where the breakthroughs live, not in the actor's perfect obedience to your every instruction, not in them trying desperately to please you or guess what's in your head, but in the actor taking profound ownership of the moment. The more they personalize their objective, maybe by using a powerful substitution from their own life, something that makes the stakes incredibly high for them personally, or by connecting deeply to their inner objects, what the other person or thing represents to them, the more layered, the messier, the braver, and ultimately, the more truthful their choices will become.
And likely more surprising even to the director.
Far beyond anything you could ever dictate with a lecture or a detailed set of instructions, behavior that's truly rooted in personal stakes is never generic. It can't be. It's raw, it's specific, it's vibrantly alive. So my instruction to directors is always this. Stop trying to shape every single beat, every inflection, every pause. Give them the objective, give them the obstacle, then simply watch. Watch what they do to try and climb it, to get over it, to win. Trust them to fight their own fight.
That idea of stepping back, watching, letting them fight, it feels intrinsically linked to this concept of trust we keep circling back to. And it also sounds like it requires allowing for silence in the room after you give a note, which can feel very uncomfortable for some directors and maybe even some actors.
It absolutely requires trust, and yes, it requires embracing the silence. Actors need time to metabolize notes. They're not computers. You can't just input a command and expect an instant transformation the moment you drop a direction into the room, like flipping a light switch.
Needs to sink in.
A powerful note, a truly effective note, needs time to sink into their muscle memory, into their emotional memory, into their breath. It's an internal, organic process of integration that requires space, requires time. The actor might need to try it and fail. They might need to struggle with it before they fully grasp what you're aiming for, before it truly becomes theirs, integrated into their being, not just an instruction they're following.
And that struggle, it's okay. It's part of the process.
It's not just acceptable, it is essential to the forging of authentic, deeply felt performance. That struggle is the crucible where truth is tested, refined, and ultimately made real.
So if a director gives a clear, concise, actionable direction rooted in objective or maybe a substitution, they shouldn't immediately jump back in with more explanations or clarifications. Even if they feel the actor isn't quite getting it right away, that instinct to rush in and help again must be strong.
It's incredibly strong, but you must resist it. If you provide a clear direction rooted in those fundamentals, do not then follow it with 10 more sentences to cushion it or clarify it, or frankly to smother it because you're afraid it won't land or afraid of the silence.
Don't hover.
Trust that it will land with time and space. Give your actors the dignity of struggle. Give them the dignity of trial, of risk. Give them the space to be brave, and yes, give them the space to fall flat on their face sometimes while exploring.
Because that failure isn't really failure.
That apparent failure in the moment, that's the crucible where honest, messy human performance is forged. You might think you're helping by providing immediate solutions, by rushing in to fix things, but what you are truly doing is short-circuiting their discovery process. You're robbing them of the chance to find it themselves and therefore robbing them of the ownership. Let them find the heartbeat of the moment in their own body, in their own unique way.
It comes down to less is more again.
A truly great actor, or even an actor striving for greatness, doesn't need 100 words of explanation. They need one that hits, one resonant word, one sharp image, one clear objective that unlocks their instinct, that slices through all the mental noise and lands right in the place where real visceral choices live. And then, crucially, they need quiet. They need breath. They need the room to surprise you. And maybe even surprise themselves.
Okay, we've talked a lot about what happens when directors fall into that trap of over-explaining and how to shift towards this more precise, trust-based approach using verbs, images, objectives, and silence. But how can a director recognize the signs in their own work? What does it look like, maybe feel like in the room when over-direction has already taken hold? How do you diagnose it in real time?
Yeah, that's critical. There are clear, often undeniable signs if you're willing to look for them. First, just observe your actor's response very closely. Do they start to freeze up? Does their natural spontaneity seem to just dissipate? Are they losing their instinctual responses?
They become hesitant?
Or they start playing it really safe. They become overly intellectualized in their approach, maybe asking lots of clarifying questions about meaning instead of just trying things. Perhaps they're trying to guess what you want rather than discovering what the character wants.
Looking at the director too much.
Are they looking at you constantly for approval more than they're looking at their scene partner? Do they start to resemble puppets, just sort of executing your ideas rather than embodying the character's urgent fight from deep within themselves? If you see that loss of their innate fight or a kind of struggle that feels unproductive, hesitant, intellectual rather than visceral, that's a huge red flag.
And what about the scene itself? Does the quality change in a noticeable way when it's being over-directed?
Oh, absolutely. You need to look at the scene, but more importantly, feel the scene. Does it feel clinical instead of vibrantly alive, maybe a little raw, unpredictable?
Like it's technically correct, but dead inside.
Precisely. What should have felt dangerous, spontaneous, full of potential surprise, instead becomes predictable. It lacks genuine spark or urgency. Is there a noticeable absence of mystery, of risk, of any kind of organic impulse in the performance?
And the emotional stakes.
Are the emotional stakes just skimming the surface? Indicated rather than deeply felt and fought for? That usually signals a lack of true personal investment from the actor, often because they haven't been given the space or the right tools to connect personally. And ask yourself, crucially, Has the actor been robbed of that essential space to fight, to fail, and to feel their own way through the inherent chaos of the moment?
If you see those signs.
If you see those signs, if the performance feels clean, maybe even technically proficient, but it's utterly devoid of life, of danger, of real stakes, it means the unknown, that crucial element that births magic in any performance, has been stolen. It's been suffocated under the sheer weight of too many words, too much explanation, too much perceived control. The scene becomes just a demonstration of your ideas, not an authentic, unpredictable human experience unfolding before our eyes.
That's a really powerful set of diagnostic functions. It seems like this whole issue really boils down to a core philosophical choice for the director, doesn't it? A fundamental stance they have to take before they even step into the rehearsal room or onto the set.
It absolutely does. I'd say the most fundamental choice you face as a director, the one that ultimately dictates the quality of your outcomes more than almost anything else, is the simple yet profound question. Are you leading from fear or are you leading from trust?
Fear versus trust. Explain that a bit more. How does fear manifest in directing?
Well, directing from fear leads you constantly trying to steer the performance into safety, into predictability. It manifests as that obsessive need to protect your vision exactly as you see it in your head. It leads to fixing and clarifying every tiny nuanced detail, explaining every possible motivation. It is fundamentally about wanting to control the outcome, to guarantee a predictable, maybe polished result, even if that means sacrificing authenticity, spontaneity, and the actor's own contribution.
And where does that fear come from?
Oh, it can come from many places. Insecurity about your own vision, maybe, pressure from producers or deadlines, a bad experience in the past, or sometimes just a deep-seated desire for a kind of perfection that simply isn't realistic or even desirable in the messy, unpredictable, creative process of finding human truth.
Okay, so that's fear-based directing. What does trust-based directing look like? How does a director cultivate that, especially when the stakes feel incredibly high and the pressure is on?
Trust-based directing requires you to be brave, really brave, brave enough to unleash the potential chaos that inevitably leads to something truly raw, something unexpected, something alive. And you have to understand this. This kind of trust isn't passive. It's not just sitting back and hoping for the best. It's fierce.
Fierce trust.
Yes, it's an active choice. It means actively, consciously letting go of your ego long enough to truly witness the actor take ownership of the moment, to make it theirs, even especially if it deviates from your initial preconceived idea.
Letting go of being right.
Exactly. It means resisting that powerful urge to jump in and fix, to clarify constantly, or to decorate the scene with your own intellect just to show how smart you are or how much you understand. It means trusting that the actor, if they're well cast, prepared, and given clear, actionable objectives, will find something authentic, something powerful, often something far more interesting than what you had originally envisioned.
So the power lies in doing less, getting out of the way.
In a sense, yes. It's about building that fertile ground, the clear objective, the high stakes, the defined obstacle, and then stepping back to let the seeds grow. Even if they grow in a surprising, unexpected direction, that's usually where the most exciting things happen.
So if a director feels that impulse, rising the urge to add more explanation, to clarify their clarification, maybe even give a line reading, just the advice is actually to consciously do the opposite, to pull back.
Yes, absolutely. The very next time you feel that impulse bubbling up to give the note and then 10 more notes to explain the first note, consciously choose to say less. Peel it back. Peel it right back to the bone. Ask yourself, what is the single most urgent thing this actor needs to do or understand right now to pursue their objective? Let the objective do the profound work. Give them that one sharp point, that single, clear, actionable direction. Then, crucially, step away, breathe, watch. Don't hover over them with 10 follow-up questions or explanations, dissecting every microbeat before they've even had a chance to process the first note.
Let them metabolize it.
Allow the actor to metabolize your direction like a slow-burning fuel. Let it sink in. Let it activate their internal engine, their instincts, and then ask yourself this question while you watch. What unfolds when I truly stop trying to control the result? What new color suddenly emerges? What surprising behavior, something that wasn't even implied in the text, suddenly takes over the room and surprises even me?
That's where the unexpected moments are born.
This is precisely where those dangerous, unexpected, vibrantly alive moments are born. The moments you could never have manufactured through meticulous micromanagement. This is where the real magic lives. In that space, you create by trusting.
Okay, so let's get really practical again. If a director is right there in the moment, feeling that overwhelming urge to over-explain, to jump in, maybe to clarify their clarification for the third time, what immediate concrete steps can they take to self-correct right then and there? What's their emergency brake, their scalpel, as you called it earlier, to cut through their own noise?
Right, the scalpel. When that impulse strikes, the first step is just a pause. Take a breath. Redirect that powerful explanatory impulse inward first, not outward.
Talk to yourself first, not the actor.
Essentially, yes. Before you speak more, quickly internalize these core questions. What is the absolute primal need of the character in this specific moment? Forget the psychology, forget the theme for a second. What is the raw hunger that truly drives their every move, that makes them fight right now? Asking yourself these questions is your immediate self-correction. It's your internal compass. It cuts through the clutter of your own thoughts, your own anxieties, your own fear and ego, and brings you right back to the character's core necessity.
And these core questions, they form the scalpel.
These three fundamental questions are your scalpel. Use them relentlessly to simplify the complex, to distill the essence of the scene down to its most actionable components, and to bring immediate, playable clarity for the actor.
Okay, remind us, what are those three essential foundational questions from the Chubbuck technique for directorial precision?
First, simply, what do they want? This defines the character's clear, urgent objective. Not some vague feeling, not an abstract concept, but a concrete goal they are actively trying to achieve in this scene right now. What's in the way? This identifies the primary obstacle, the conflict. The fight they are facing. Is it another person? Is it a circumstance? Is it their own internal struggle? What is actively preventing them from immediately achieving their objective? What will they do to win? This focuses both you and the actor squarely on actionable behavior, on tactics, on strategy. What specific choices are they making, consciously or unconsciously, minute by minute, line by line, to try and overcome that obstacle and achieve their objective?
So every single note should serve one of these three.
Every single note you give, every piece of feedback, every provocation should serve to sharpen the actor's understanding and pursuit of one of these three essential questions. Give the actor that single, sharp objective they can sink their teeth into. Give them clarity on the obstacle. Give them permission to use tactics. Not a lecture, not a feeling to aim for, but a goal and the permission, the encouragement to fight like hell for it.
And after that single sharp objective or clarifying note based on these questions is given, what's the final critical step in this process? The hardest part, maybe.
Then you let go. You absolutely have to let go. Let the struggle be messy. Let them discover their own tactics, maybe tactics you never would have thought of. Let them find their own unique path to victory or even to failure, if that serves the story.
Trust the chaos.
Trust the chaos. Trust the silence after the note lands. Trust that your actors, if you've cast them well and prepared them well with these tools, will rise to meet the moment. They will come up with choices that surprise even you, choices far more profound and authentic than anything you could have possibly dictated or planned out in advance.
So the final instruction is,
shut up and watch. Seriously, watch with genuine curiosity, not with critique buzzing in your head. Because what happens in that silence, in that space, after the precise direction, but before the actor's instinct fully kicks in, and maybe before their logical mind takes over again, that is the profound moment of potential transformation. That's where truth starts to flicker.
and if you give it space,
If you give it space, if you trust the actor, if you trust the silence, that flicker might just ignite into something truly extraordinary. It's in that brave space, that space of not knowing and allowing, that an actor's unique brilliance, their unique humanity, can genuinely emerge and electrify the scene.
this has been incredibly insightful, a really powerful session, I think, stripping away all that noise, all that potential clutter, getting right back to the core of what great direction, supportive direction truly is. It sounds like it boils down to precision, immense trust, and maybe the courageous act of just getting out of the way sometimes.
You have to understand this fundamental truth. Over-explaining suffocates truth. It absolutely does. It short-circuits the actor's organic, messy, necessary process of discovery. It replaces the potential for spontaneous life with mere intellectual obedience.
And the director's real power isn't in controlling.
Your true power as a director lies not in dictating every step, not in guaranteeing every emotional beat will land exactly as you planned. It lies in setting the precise conditions, the clear objective, the tangible obstacle, the high personal stakes for profound, authentic behavior to emerge, and then having the courage, the trust to simply witness it unfold.
So precision, silence, trust. These are the keys.
Precision in your notes, getting to that single actionable point. The bravery to allow silence to do its crucial work. And an unwavering trust in your actor's intrinsic fight, their own creative engine. These are the forces that create performances that will shock even you with their depth, their vitality, their unexpected truth. They become indelible, unforgettable, precisely because they were not manufactured but discovered in the moment.
It makes me think about those moments in films, the ones that really stick with you, the ones that make you weep or hold your breath.
Exactly. Think about those moments that have truly moved you in films or theater you love. Were they clean? Were they tidy? Were they perfectly executed according to some rigid intellectual plan?
Rarely. Usually they're messy, unexpected.
Or were they dangerous, unexpected, messy, vibrantly, breathtakingly alive? That is what happens when directors choose trust over fear. When they build the battlefield, clarify the mission, and then step back to let the soldier fight their fight.
So a final thought for the directors listening.
The next time you're tempted to overwrite, to overtalk, to oversteer because you feel that fear rising, just don't. Take that breath, peel it back to the bone, give the sharpest, clearest objective, define the obstacle vividly, and then step into the silence. Let go. That's where the actor will truly surprise you. And that's where the profound, undeniable truth of the scene will finally have the space to ignite.